Alright, here's our video for square roots. Learning the students can find and approximate square roots of numbers. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on square roots today. Go ahead and write down your title. Make sure you write down your learning target in your notes. If you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll be moving on to the next screen. In example 1, we're going to talk about finding square roots. Here's what a square root is. The square root of a number n is a number m such that m squared equals n. Okay, so when we're trying to find the square root of a number, it's the inverse operation of squaring a number. So if I have m squared, the square root of that number would be what n is. Okay. There's three ways to write a square root. We have a positive form, a negative form, and then we can have a form that we want is plus or minus, so it would be either one. And I'll show you how to write the answers for those. Okay, so in our positive form, I have a square root. Now this symbol here is called a radical. And a radical is a grouping symbol, and that is how and what we use to illustrate square roots. So what I want to know is, okay, the square root, that would be like our n in our example up there. I want to know what number squared equals 121, or what number times itself equals 121. That is 11. Now if you look at the radical is the whole symbol. There's nothing out in front of it. When nothing's out in front, we know that it's positive. So the answer to this would be 11. Not 11 squared. Okay, we don't write this. Okay, 11 squared is 121. The square root of 121 is just 11. Okay? Now, in the negative one, you can see we have our negative symbol out here, and so I'm going to do the same thing. I have to figure out what number times itself, what number squared equals 49. 7 times 7 is 49, so that would be 7. Since I want the negative form, I ask for negative 7. Okay? Notice the negative sign is outside. It is not negative 49. This is not the square root of negative 49. This is the negative square root of 49, which means you do the square root of 49 and make it negative. If I put a plus minus sign in front, that means I want both forms. Okay, so you got to figure out what number squared equals 100. That is 10. So I want the answer to be plus or negative 10. Or if you want to express your answer as 10 and negative 10 as two separate forms, that is fine. Okay, either one would be fine. Alright, so that's how we find the square roots. You're going to have to know when you see this radical that it's not divided by 2, common misconception. We're not dividing by 2, we're trying to find out what number squared equals that amount. Okay, if you need to pause at this point, do that. I'm going to move on to the next example. Okay, in our next example, example 2, we're going to estimate a square root. So in this one, we're going to approximate the square root to the nearest integer. So I'm going to think of my perfect squares. And I have, well, this is going to be negative, so we don't want to forget about that. So I have the negative square root of 49, which is negative 7. And then I have the negative square root of 64, which is negative 8. So this is between negative 7 and negative 8. Well, 51, or negative, this 51 is closer to 49 than it is to 64. So this would be about negative, that would be my approximate or my estimate of my square root of this one. Okay, so you have to know your what we call perfect squares, the ones that come out to integer answers. Okay, and when we have our perfect squares, then we want to find those. Okay, all right, 125. Well, what are my numbers around 125? Well, the one below would be 121. The square root of 121 is 11, and then the next one would be 144, which is 12. 125 is closer to 121 than it is 144, so this would be about 11. It's between 11 and 12, so the square root of 125 on a number line would be between 11 and 12 and closer to 11 than it is 12. Okay, so if you were ever asked to put this on a number line, okay, you would want to put it between negative 7 and negative 8, and then you would want to make it closer to negative 7, so that would be, maybe like right there. And on this one, if I had this, I would want to put it between 11 and 12 and closer to 11. So it would be like right there. Okay? Alright, if you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to example 3. In example 3, we're going to be evaluating a radical expression. A radical expression is a grouping symbol. So that means that you do everything inside the radical first and do the square root. So in this example, I'm going to substitute in. So this will be 2 times the square root of 11 plus 5 squared. Then I'm going to do my correct order of operations. That's 11 plus 5 squared is 5 times 5, or 25. It's 2 times the square root of 36. Now I do the square root of 36, which is 2 times square root of 36 is 6, because 6 times 6 equals 36. And so my answer is 12. That's my final answer. Okay, for B, I plug in 12 for A and 4 for B. So it's going to be 2 times the square root of 4 squared minus 12. 2 times the square root of 4 squared is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Minus 12. Now I do inside there, it's going to be 2 times the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. So it's going to be 2 times 2, and that's going to get me back to 4. So my final answer would be 4. So you just have to know that the radical expression is a grouping symbol, and it stands for, remember, radical stands for what number times itself equals that number, or what number squared equals that number, not dividing by 2. Be careful of that. Okay, that's it. Have a great night. If you need to watch anything again, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later.